Me about this issue, because this is the American Energy Act, and this is something that you sponsored as well. And what's the situation down in Washington?
Well, at this point, the Democrat majority, Speaker Pelosi, refused to put any legislation dealing with drilling on the floor of the House for a vote. We've been calling for it since, early part of this year, let's say, and have introduced a number of bills that will start to address the energy issue. The energy issue really is a three-prong, if you will. It's like a three-legged stool is the best way to put it. You have to have all three pieces or else the policy won't work. One piece is drilling for having American energy right here at our access to remove ourselves from that foreign independence. The second piece is conservation. You've got to get the country to conserve, and it means you've got to issue I think, tax credits to people to make transfers from one type of energy to another. And the third piece, which is a very important piece, which is a long-term piece, which is find alternative fuel sources. Whether it's hydrogen fuel cell engines, whether it's electric engines, whether it's natural gas, nuclear, wind, solar, those are all pieces of the alternative energy piece that have to be put together.
Those, going backwards here, the alternative sources is something you've researched extensively. And what do you see? Because I'm looking just in your district and just a little bit beyond in upstate New York here, and I'm seeing ethanol plants, talk of switchgrass plants, natural gas. We touch on drilling, really. We've got tons of natural gas coming out of southern tier. You and I both know it well. What do you see right here in this district as ways we can start to enact some of these things on our own, even without legislation getting things going?
I think the government has to play a vital role in this transfer. I mean, we have to make it attractive for people to get involved in the investment. I mean, you just don't go out and build an ethanol plant, for instance, and get involved in promoting the technology from switchgrass to ethanol without a great deal of capital. So we have to provide some incentives, and we've got to make the decisions as to how you want to go. Otherwise, people are just not going to put that money forward on a gamble. And you can't really expect them to do that. But we have to be involved in that start. Now, in the western part of New York, yeah, we can grow switchgrass here. We can grow willow. You know, those are both aspects that transfer very well. Corn ethanol is really not the solution, but it can have its impact initially in setting up the infrastructure, meaning at filling stations, so that you have the pumps to pump the ethanol when you finally find the right mix from a biofuel.
I told you I heard Senator McCain speaking today in Ohio, and he, one of the things he said is his people are telling him if we just approve drilling, whether it be on the continental shelf or elsewhere, almost instantaneously gas prices are going to go down. It just starts that market effect. You agree with that? What do you know about that?
Yeah, I sit on a committee in the House called the Agriculture Committee, and that has an oversight of what they call a commodities futures market. And we've had testimony saying that there really is no manipulation of the market right now relative to oil for a specific purpose of really trapping the market. But they will say and be very guarded about, there probably is some speculation. I mean, if you think the price is going to go up and you're an investor, you say, okay, fine, here's a good investment. I'll invest my money, watch the price go up, and then yield a profit. And we remove that if we give the promise to our constituents, to our people in America, that we're going to drill here, that there's going to be new supply available. It doesn't have to be available tomorrow. But if we promise it's going to be available down the line, you're going to see those speculators get out of the market, the price is going to come down, and you're going to see that movement. How big it is, it's difficult to quantify that right now, but we know that there will be some additional reduction in price.
Coming back to that, we could see it tomorrow. You got to be in D.C. today. What is the holdup down there? Pelosi? Who is it?
Yeah, it's the Democrat majority. Speaker Pelosi is standing in the way of what the American people want, and that is access to American reserves, whether it's oil or whether it's natural gas. We know they exist. They're out on the outer continental shelf. They're in shale out in the western region. They're in Alaska. And then that's all accessible. All we've just got to do is give the go-ahead. Now, will it happen instantaneously? In some cases, almost instantaneously. But in some places, you got to go through the whole discovery process. You got to have the mapping process. You got to get the permits where it's never been done before, and that's going to take some time. But we can do some things to help that. And so what we need is action now. It's not 6 months from now or a year from now or 2 or 3. We'll lose, and our people will continue to suffer. I mean, we have people that are altering their behavior, their lifestyles, because of the growing cost to them, whether it's their transportation, whether it's the cost of fuel, whether it's the cost of heating their homes, whether it's the cost of prescription drugs or health care. You name every aspect of it's all linked to the cost of transportation, to their lifestyle. And that is getting to be very, very difficult for many people, particularly people on fixed incomes, people who have planned on retirement and are there who can't go back to work, can't elevate their income, and all of a sudden they see their costs escalating. You're talking about municipalities. We have governments that provide services. All of a sudden the cost of asphalt prohibits them from actually doing the kind of road maintenance they'd want to. They've got built-in costs there that people are going to be seeing increased taxes. And so we've got to get this price down, and you can do it by drilling here, drilling now, and then you'll pay less at the pump, very simply. But as I say, it's got to be a comprehensive strategy. You have to cover all aspects of conservation, alternate fuels, and drilling. Drilling's not the sole solution, and anybody who tells you that is absolutely missing the point. It has to be threefold in those areas and totally comprehensive.
Obviously, it being an election season, this is on everybody's mind, whether it's an election season or not. But when I look at some of the proposals you have in place, and I look at your opponent, of course, some of the differences where you part ways. One of the things your opponent says is that 10% of the strategic oil reserve should be released. And he points to the fact that you voted against that, as I understand. Your thoughts on that?
Well, this election is going to be about differences. And the difference between me and my opponent are stark. I favor cutting taxes and growing the economy. My opponent favors raising taxes and spending more money on social programs. When it comes to energy, the only answer is a three-pronged comprehensive program. Again, it's drill now, it's conservation, and it's give the credits and establish alternative fuels. That's the answer. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve was set there for matters of urgency. And if you were to release 10% of the strategic thing, it'd amount to about, I think, the $3 of a savings to you, because you have 300 million people in this country, and you spread it across everybody per person. It's insignificant. Plus, you put yourself in jeopardy if, in fact, one of the major oil producers, who are not necessarily friendly to us, like Nigeria, like Venezuela, like Iran, all of a sudden say, no fuel for you guys. Well, then you've got an economy here that stops. And that would be absolutely disastrous. So that's just a 30-second soundbite that it really doesn't do anything, actually puts our country more at risk.
The